Right, good morning to you all. Welcome to the first panel of Sunday, and it's Jacqueline Pierce. I'm not going to throw you into the deep end. How was your night? Did you enjoy it?
It was very good.
Good.
Thank you.
Right, first of all, I'd like to ask, how old were you when you started acting?
I started in amateur dramatics. Really, this is the first time I'd been on a stage in front of people at the Byfleet Players yet. When I was about 14 or 15. I had a wonderful drama teacher. I went to a convent. But I had a wonderful lay teacher who taught drama. She'd been, if she could have done, I mean, she was a brilliant actress. But when she started, she had very bad eyesight, and it was before the days of contact lenses. And without glasses, she couldn't see her fellow actors on the stage, which is very sad. So she had to teach, and she taught me, and thought that I'd got something. And without her, I would never have got to RADA, so I owe her a great deal, and she died 20 years ago. And I'll never forget her. I was very fortunate to have had her.
This weekend we've been fortunate enough to see one of your earliest performances
on
television.
Oh dear,
in an episode of The Avengers.
Dear, dear, dear.
You played a schoolgirl.
Oh God.
Alongside you is a very youthful looking Patrick McNee and a very youthful looking Patrick Mower. Do you have any memories of that?
Don't be silly. I was a schoolgirl a very long time ago. Actually, I do vaguely remember it. Isn't that funny? I can remember being in a classroom with Patrick Mower, and I think I had a bit of a crush on him. We're all allowed one really big mistake in life.
Right. Now moving across to probably your most famous role that we know of anyway, Solo in Blake 7. Seaglow Hit Destroy. It's your first story.
Right.
Was it going to be a one-off, or had you been booked for the entire season?
No, it was a one-off. I was working at the English-speaking theatre in Vienna. My agent phoned up and said that the BBC were making this new science fiction series, and they'd offered me a part in it. And actors love it because it doesn't happen often enough that you're on one job and you go immediately to start another. So I went to see it. I hadn't read the script or anything. I did know, and know even less now, I think, about science fiction. I'm not a science fiction fan. It's not a dreadful admission. I find it quite ironic that, you know, what name I've made should be in a science fiction series. So I did the first episode, and they asked if I'd stay on and do a few more, and a few more turned into 3-4 years.
Your costumes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We spoke yesterday of the haircut and the bobber boots that never appeared. How much input did you have into the dresses? Because they were totally outrageous.
They were totally outrageous. Well, when we started, because I was playing the baddie, I thought it was too obvious to wear black. So I thought I'd wear white and look terribly virginal, or something like that. And then I decided that in fact I looked better in black than in white, so I had to get myself out of this one. So when I had, I think it was a psychic miscarriage in Children of Iron, was it? I thought I could go into mourning. Right. Lots of baby Shadowlands. I remember one of the other actors saying, "Thank God you lost them, darling." He said the thought of a world filled with little Jackie Pierces was too awful to comprehend. So I managed to get it into black, and I thought, well, I'll keep it in black. So then we got to series 3, where the costumes really were outrageous. So we had this wonderful costume designer who, alas, is now dead, we always called him Rocky Knickers, but in fact it was Nicky Rocker. And Nicky was wonderful and totally outrageously camp. And he used to design for Shirley Bassey. And I think that he thought that Serverland was Shirley Bassey in space. So that's why they did get a bit outrageous. I mean, when they worked, sometimes they were wonderful and sometimes they were just ridiculous. He got carried away. He did one for the first series, series 4, I think, where I got this sort of feather thing on. I looked like a canary. I can't tell you. But on the whole, some of the costumes were lovely and great fun.
I've been signalled there's an interruption.
Sorry, Cameron.
Sorry about that. There's development of your character as Sutherland, how much was your input and how much was just down to the producer and the writers?
They didn't like me, in a nutshell. I think, looking back on it, that the men in Blake 7 on the production side felt very threatened by the character. Looking at it from their point of view, I can see why. I mean, if I had to go into work every day and face Sutherland, you know, I'd think twice about it. It was difficult enough living with her. And I do have a thing that's gone throughout my career and will probably always be with me, that my work is very important to me. I consider that what gifts I have, it is my responsibility to take care of as best I can. And I'm a great believer in giving people the best that it's possible to give them. I hate the school of thought that caters to the lowest common denominator, and something in me will not allow me to do it. So whatever I'm doing, I want to invest with the best that I possibly can. And now that's wonderful if you're working with other people who feel the same way. The people who feel the same way are usually your fellow actors who want to get it right. But the people on the production side, you know, there's this thing called money which seems to rule our lives. And it seems to me it's the one thing we can actually do without and really not miss. But everything is governed by money. And they had this, they do a sort of survey. I found this out one of the directors. The Blake 7, all programs are aimed at a particular audience with a particular intelligence level who shop at certain shops. I mean, all this research has been done, you know. We're all in a category here. But some people don't fit in a category, and I think people who watch science fiction don't fit in a category, unless you want to say they fit in a science fiction category. But that's fairly loose, and you know what I mean, and people who are into science fiction seem to be much more aware of the value of the imagination and, you know, the true importance of that. So my input developed in spite of the BBC, not because of it. I felt there was a potentially wonderful character there that some of the writers, like Terry Nation, who created her, understood. And Terry told me one day that when he was first writing Sutherland, he was writing for a man. Sutherland was initially a man. And he got halfway, because he can't write for women, or finds it difficult. And he was halfway through, and he came downstairs one morning and looked at the script and said, no, he should be a she. So halfway through, she turned into a woman. I found that very interesting, and I think that was there in the writing throughout, and I hope I carried that through.
Right, I believe we have a roving microphone. Does anyone on the floor out there have a question? Can you bring the microphone? Lady in the red.
I've heard that you write poetry, Jacqueline. Is that true?
I did. There was a period when I did. I was in America quite shortly after Blake 7 and had a total collapse. I was very ill. And I was taken to this rather glamorous mental home in Hollywood that Marilyn Monroe used to go to have her breakdowns. And while I was there, I wrote some poetry. It was funny because it just fell out of me. I mean, I'd sit down and just all this stuff came out. It wasn't particularly good, but it helped me at the time. And then it dried up. I left the hospital and I came home, and I haven't been able to do it since. So I did write for a brief period.
Yeah, what do you like reading?
What do I like reading? I like what I call good crap. I mean, I've done all, you know, the classics, most of the English classics and things like that, which I love reading. It's one of my great passions. But I'm basically a romantic. What can I love a good Daphne du Maurier or a romantic 18th century novel. Thrills me to bits. But I like books. I'm reading Ginny Cooper at the moment, who I've always despised. Never read her, just despised her. It's kind of appalling. And when I love reading, it enables me to switch off. If I'm burned out like I am at the moment, something that requires no intellectual effort, but will take me into a world of glamour and, you know, men with attractive names who ride horses. Wonderful. So a friend lent me this Ginny Cooper, and I became completely hooked. I'm now working my way through Ginny Cooper. Do not repeat this. But I'm loving it. So I do like things I can switch off to.
What did you think of Avon's jacket?
Avon's jacket? I was so busy looking into those beautiful eyes, I never looked at his jacket. His jacket. I thought it was all right, actually, as jackets go, you know, I mean... Why, is there something particularly significant about Avon's jacket?
The leather-studded ones.
Pardon, the studded one. Well, I knew what was going on in his mind. Let's put it like that.
Right. Is there a direction that you would have liked to have taken Servalan's character that the scripts didn't allow for?
Well, I would like to have seen the relationships develop rather than just stop at potential. You know, every time Avon met Servalan, you know, it was always going to end in tears. And it would have been nice if they could actually have got it together or something and taken it further. Or just the relationships could have continued. I found the relationship with Stephen, Pacey and Sam, I found that an interesting episode because it was about a relationship. And it told you more about why these people were behaving in the appalling ways that they did, which I thought was quite interesting. I'm very fascinated by psychology. And I was very lucky because I went through a Jungian analysis myself, so it's a subject that's very dear and close to my heart. So I would like to have seen much more development about why people do the things they do and how it affects us all.
Do you think Avon and Servalan had a past before Blake Seven?
You mean but together?
Yeah.
See, it's very interesting. All the interesting questions and ideas about how those people could have been developed always come from the people who watch it. If only the people that wrote it had the imagination of the people that watch it. Really, I mean that. I'll never work with BBC again. Not a bad thing. Yes?
Any more from the floor?
You feel Servalan had a touch of tyrannical nun about her?
Darling, yes! How clever of you. I've always wanted to play a nun. And there was a period in my life when I wanted to be one. Anyone that's known me for longer than 5 minutes becomes totally helpless with hysteria whenever I mention that there was a time when I'd like to have been a nun. But I did spend, from the age of 4 to the age of 17, in a convent, which is a very interesting experience. And of course, I wanted to become a nun because I thought I'd be like Audrey Hepburn in the nun story, and I'd get consumption rather attractively and swan around with Peter Finch or whoever it was doing magical things with papayas. But of course, true life is not like that, is it? Real life isn't like that. But I would love to play a nun because I think the sexuality angle of it is fascinating. And yes, of course there would have been some of that in Servalan because there's a lot of that in me. And what was she but little bits and pieces of me. Very, very good question. Good boy.
The current trend is for actors, actresses, directors, etc. to write the continuing adventures of their characters. If approached, would you do so?
No. I know where my talents lie, and writing really isn't one of them. I'd like to think it was, but it isn't. I would be much more excited by how other people could see it going. For it to be written by people with imagination and intelligence who are also articulate, I mean, you could do wonderful things with those people. You could go where no man has gone before. Wouldn't that be fun? Yes, Dan.
If such a book was written, would you go out and buy it?
I'd probably endorse it.
Of all your roles that you've ever played, on stage, screen, theatre, what would you say was your most fulfilling character you've ever played?
Easily the one I've just done, which was Joy Gresham in Shadowlands. Do you want to know why?
Yes, I'm going to say why.
Some of you may know the play, but just in case you don't, it's about the writer C.S. Lewis, who wrote the Narnia books, among other things, and wrote some brilliant religious writings. He wrote a book about my character, who was his wife, called A Grief Observed, which is one of the most brilliant books about grief I've ever read, and I do recommend it. And I played his wife, who was an American poet called Joy Gresham. And she arrived in C.S. Lewis's life. I read a lot about her, and she was described often as being spectacularly uninhibited. And she arrived into this world of, yes, absolutely, Oxford dons, and just blew it apart. And in real life, she died of cancer. This was an extraordinary thing between them. His mother had died of cancer when he was 8. You know, he had one of those dreadful upbringings where he's 8 years old, his mother dies, who he adored, and he's packed off to boarding school at the age of 8, having just gone through a traumatic thing like that. A highly sensitive, imaginative little boy. And so he carried this grief around him all his life and could never express it. And then in comes Joy, which is my character, the most wonderful name, Joy. And through her he discovered Joy, and they fell in love, these two totally unlikely people. And then she gets cancer, and they have 3 years together. She goes into remission, and they get cancer, and she gets cancer and she comes out. And this man who'd been a misogynist and couldn't love, through the power of Joy, it's just extraordinary that she was called Joy. His life is transformed, and they fall in love, and they have this wonderful relationship, and then she dies. And because she dies, she also has an 8-year-old son, Douglas. It's an amazing scene as our talking character, as I'm dying, with CS beside me, suddenly realising that not only am I going to leave the man I love, but my son. Amazing part to play, and it has totally transformed not only my life, but the life of everybody in the cast. It was one of those rare experiences that every actor joins the profession for, where it's truly about being creative, because the script was so rich, it's almost actor-proof. It's very difficult to leave it up, because it's so well written. So if you've got actors who are really good, then you can sing. I wouldn't say that our cast was totally the cast I would wish it would be. If the members of the cast here had been out, they would be on the floor roaring. But there were some wonderful performances. There was a wonderful actor called David McHale who played Warney, my brother-in-law. One of the truest actors I've ever seen in my life. And there was a great feeling of camaraderie between us. It was wonderful, the rare scenes I had with the rest of the boys, playing the dons. It was just a wonderful working experience, and I will never forget it. I wish I could do more work like that, but in fact I refuse to do anything but. The other job I liked, had a wonderful time, I was Amanda in Private Lives, which I toured the Middle and Far East in. And that was 6 years ago, so I hadn't been on the stage for 6 years, and I remember talking to Gerald Harper, who was my Elliot, a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I'm doing this. And he said, wonderful. He said, from Private Lives to Shadowlands. I said, yes, but I've done nothing for 6 years. He said, yes, but you don't do all the crap in between. And it's true, I don't. But sometimes there are long waits, and I hope they get shorter.
In Shadowlands, C.S. Lewis is renowned for his Narnia Chronicles.
Yes.
Was Shadowlands more a real story than a fantasy, or was it a mixture of both? So C.S. Lewis is known for sort of unicorns and dragons in Narnia Chronicles.
How much of it was his?
How much of it was real and how much wasn't?
In it for him, you mean? Or for our production? Oh, yeah, the most magical set in the entire world ever. And this is from a lot of people who'd seen the London production as well. But I'd never read the Narnia books until I did this one. So it was a whole new world. So we go on the first day of rehearsal and read the script. And then the designer comes in with this model of the set, which usually bores me to tears and means nothing to me at all. So it's set in Oxford University. We've got a revolving stage. It's got this amazing model like this big. And everything that's set downstage, they've got sort of like, it looks like Oxford University, that you fly it in and you'd play scenes in front of it. And then the Oxford University thing goes up, and all round the stage there are 12 enormous pillars with Narnia creatures on them, Aslan and all these extraordinary mythical creatures, all around the stage. And this enormous, what looks like, twice the size of this room, solid wall. And for the Narnia scene, suddenly this door would open to the most amazing magical music. And there's this amazing tree with a lantern on it, and mushrooms and creatures. Magic. And this happened 3 times, and the last one, we used to rush out front after the dress rehearsal to watch it. Opened up on Narnia. Fucking lantern comes on, the light goes on, the backcloth all comes, it's all lit with stars. The snow is falling. It was just amazing. So there was all this amazing work going on at this theatre in Coventry, which wasn't seen by nearly enough people. But those of us that were in it, and those of us that did see it, it was amazing because, as one of the reviewers said, it was a play that made enormous emotional demands on both its actors and its audience. And it was something that really touched people, and people used to come up to me after performance with tears streaming down their faces, saying, I was so moved. So to be able to do that, to touch another human being, is for me what acting is about, at its best. And the opportunities to do that are few and far between. So I'm sorry I've gone on so much, but it really was a very passionate experience.
And any more?
What part would you most like to know?
To play next. Well, you see, I mean, I think about things like this a lot, and people ask me this question, and it's never, life is never the way I've planned it out. You know, I said yesterday, what makes God laugh? People who make plans. So I've really stopped, because I just have, what I do have finally, after a lifetime of trying, is I've achieved a point in life where I have great trust in the process of life itself. So now I can just, if you like, go along for the ride and wait and see what's going to happen. And that's actually the way that I enjoy it. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I know it's going to be wonderful. That's all I do know. So I'm as excited as I can be, really, just waiting to see what's going to happen. But I'd like to do more comedy.
Apart from your first teacher, could you tell us who your acting influences have been, who you've admired over the years and tried to follow?
Yes, the greatest influence on my life artistically is not an actor at all. I said yesterday, some of you may have heard, in my soul I am a dancer, and that's what I always wanted to be. But that's not where my talent lay. But so my greatest influence has been Rudolf, the ballet dancer, who I first saw at the Hollywood Bowl in California about 20 years ago. I'd heard of this phenomenon, and I found myself in Hollywood, as one does. So I thought I'd go and see him. He was playing at the Hollywood Bowl, this wonderful amphitheatre, dancing Swan Lake with Margot Fonteyn. Yes. So I go, and none of you are all too young to have seen Rudolf Nureyev at his peak, so I'm going to tell you in detail what it was like. It's an amazing amphitheatre, you know, you've got 200 swans in the white frocks bobbing up and down, you know, looking wonderful, and the lighting, and it was just too beautiful, and the music. I love the combination of all these fairy tale elements. I love fairy stories, are my favourite. So they've got, you know, Swan Lake, and suddenly on comes this extraordinary creature. And what made Rudolf Nureyev so extraordinary and different was what he brought to ballet was sexuality, which had been missing before. And as that is sort of the basis of life, and it's the impulse that is the strongest in all of us, and the one that is completely most misunderstood and swept under the carpet, and made to feel, you know, it's not very nice. To suddenly see someone come on, and what made him gave him his eroticism, was that he had the sensitivity of a woman in a man's body, which is a very heady combination. And I think a woman who has a man's intelligence, combined with a woman's feelings, then you have a balanced human being all the time. And great actors and great artists and great performers have that duality which they have managed to merge into a wholeness. And he was just the most extraordinary thing I've ever seen in my life. And I fell totally in love with this man's talent and with the price that he paid to give to the world the enormous gifts that he had. People would go and see him. He was a phenomenon. And people who'd never seen ballet before, in Greece I heard the story, they would come out of the hills, they'd heard of Fonteyn and Nureyev. But in fact she was 42 and about to retire when he came into her life. And suddenly this 24-year-old who defected from Russia came into this woman's life who was just about to retire. And she became 16, and he put another 20 years on her career. Quite extraordinary. But before a performance, the atmosphere in the theatre was electric. And am I going on too long? They did this amazing performance of Giselle. He, again, is one of my passions. And at the end of the performance, they took 89 curtain calls, which is quite a lot. 89, think about it, girls. 89 curtain calls. And suddenly someone came on, and it's throwing knee-deep in roses on the stage, just outrageous. And suddenly she took a red rose, pulled one of the red roses out of her bouquet, and she kissed it, and she gave it to him. And it was totally spontaneous, it had never happened before. And he took this rose, and he dropped to his knees, and he buried his head in the folds of her skirt. And it was the most amazing moment, and of course being very clever, they kept it in after that, and I think they should have but the first time was really magical. And I understand now that he's dying, and he was a great, great spirit, great artist. For me, he was the greatest, at his peak, greatest living artist of the 20th century. And to see him dance was one of the great joys of my life. I'll try and answer it late for the next one.
You said yesterday that the ballet at Covent Garden at its best is your personal heaven. What's your personal hell?
Mediocrity of any kind, anywhere. it's you see, Cornwall and places like that, where people are, if you're fortunate enough to be in a situation where you are motivated by love, you will always give of your best. And when you're not, and you're catering to the lowest common denominator, it brings out the worst in people. And I don't want to bring out the worst. I am aware of the worst in me. I came in touch with a lot of that with Servalan, because Servalan, a lot of people said that she was a psychopath. And there was a time during the playing of that when I realised what it meant to be that. And we all have that in us. And I remember my psychiatrist, when I was talking to him about this, I was very lucky to have had this extraordinary journey with a very wise, intelligent man. And he described the darkness, the badness, the evilness, if you want to call it that in isolation, in all of us by saying it's like oil. And if you have oil by itself, it's the most disgusting mess. It's on your hand, you can't get it off, right? It's just disgusting. However, it is also essential for the smooth running of the Rolls Royce. So in its place, it assists us. On its own, it destroys us. And Servalan was an archetype, and I was going through the process of analysis and working with the archetypes at the time. So I was really going through some quite extraordinary experiences in my inner life as well as my outer life. And of course one affected the other. Go back and get your original question, because I did get sidetracked. Personal hell. So my personal hell is I'm also quite a sensitive person, and so I think you have to be, to be any good at working in the arts. I'm not the only sensitive person. I'm sure I share it in common with everyone in this room. My personal hell is to be with people who aren't in touch with their own sensitivity, because I find they can be very hurtful. And as much as I don't want to be hurt, I also don't want to hurt others. That's very important to me.
With Servalan, she is quoted at one point to say, "Power became my lover."
Yes.
Do you think that's a reasonable motivation?
I can certainly understand it. What Tanith and I tried to explain in the episode of Sand was that Servalan was a woman who had been deeply wounded by love and had been betrayed by love. I personally think, and this is the direction I would have liked the series to go into, not at the time because I wasn't as aware then as I am now of these things. I believe that we are all on a spiritual journey in life, and some people are walking that path more consciously than others. And I believe that our purpose in life is to know love. So if you have been very wounded by love, one of the ways of dealing with that, and I have done it myself, I've known it to myself, is to say, right, from now on nothing in life is going to hurt me, I will become impenetrable, and the way to do that is to have the power, so that no one has power over me. So then of course what you get is a megalomaniac, because they have totally misunderstood the use of power, because power is actually, the ultimate power is love. That is the greatest power. It's in all the writings, all the teachings, I don't follow any conventional religious path at all. But I do believe that. So I would like to see a show, a series, whatever, that deals with that, that takes it to the ultimate degree and shows people who are transformed by love and the path you have to walk to achieve that. Because I think that's the path that we are all walking, and I think the world is getting ready for that. Otherwise, we're just going to destroy ourselves, so we might as well try the one thing we haven't tried, which is just, getting on with each other. But it's a small thing to say, it's a large thing to do.
Questions from the floor? Hang on, we've got one down here.
Could you tell us about some of your favourite places?
My favourite places. I live in one of them. I moved to Cornwall 2.5 years ago. I've had a passion for Cornwall since I first went there as a child of 9. And when I say that I don't follow any prescribed religion, if I had to describe myself, I'd say I was a pagan. Because that's what I respond to. I respond to the elements. Totally. And Cornwall has a very powerful pull for me. And it's there are a lot of interesting women in Cornwall. And I said to them one day, why do you think there's so many interesting women? And one of them said, I think because Cornwall is very male, and it is. It's got a very sort of thrusting coastline, all these tin mines sticking up, promontories and waves crashing, it is extremely male. And she said, I think it attracts women who are getting in touch with that side of themselves. And I have an enormous response to it. Cornwall is like my lover. If ever I could meet a man that I feel the same way about Cornwall, we'd be in for one hell of a ride. But I really feel that it takes care of me because I love it. And it's this thing again about love. And it does seem to, in my life anyway, that if I love something, it will respond back in kind. And I do, I love Cornwall. I'm sure they think I'm totally out to lunch in quite a major way in Cornwall. But it doesn't matter because they accept me for it, you know what I mean? And I'm always wandering around kissing rocks and falling flat on my face saying, oh, I love you, Cornwall, because I do. And I feel very fortunate to feel that way about someone. I also feel the same way about Ireland because of the people who are the most amazing people I've ever met. They're so kind and enormous humour. And they're like the way people used to be 90 years ago, you know? And I'd like to have lived then. It was a much gentler, kinder way of life.
How do you find living in Cornwall has affected your career in any way?
For the best. You see, I hung around in London thinking, this is where the acting, this is where you've got to be if you've got to be a proper actress. And I used to live in 4 walls and go mad because I don't do anything else when I'm not working, and I'm not married and I don't have children. So whereas all my actress girlfriends are being wives and mothers, and have got other things to put themselves into, I have only ever had the work. And therein lies a recipe for insanity. So I used to spend an awful lot of time wondering why I wasn't being employed. There were things I could have done, but they weren't things that I wanted to do. But I was doing other things, which was making this spiritual journey with my psychiatrist. So when I finally moved to Cornwall, it was because suddenly my private life, as a result of the analysis and all that was going on, right, I kept opening doors in my mind, which pushed me through to confront my worst fears. And finally I found myself with £300 in the world, which is not a great deal of money, folks, and nowhere to go. And didn't know what to do, so I ended up in Cornwall, because I've got friends there, and started working as an artist's model, which I absolutely adore. And since being in Cornwall, I've had the greatest adventures of my life. All my life, I've chased security. That's what has motivated me. I wanted security. So security meant, I said to my psychiatrist one day, where have I gone wrong? Why haven't I got security? And he said, if you'd wanted security 30 years ago, you would have married a bank manager. And you would have had 2.4 children. And you'd have driven them to school every day, and he'd have come home at the same time every night, and you'd have gone to the same place for the holidays every year. How does that grab you? I said, I'd rather join the Women's Institute. He said, exactly. And I came slowly to see that the life we have is in fact the life we want. And I'm actually, one of my friends called me an upmarket bag lady, which I think is probably what I am. I live in a room above the Croesus in St. Ives, and I've never been happier in my life. So this thing about not making plans, the life I thought I wanted is in fact the last thing I wanted in the world. And I travel very light, in every sense of the word. I don't miss having a family because I'm blessed with the most wonderful friends. And if such a thing as reincarnation exists, and I do sort of lean towards that, I probably had 72 children in my last life, and I'll have 58 the next one, so I'm having a break from it this time. But I have reached the point where I'm having a really wonderful time. But what I do in 10 years' time, I have no idea exactly what I'll be doing, but I know I'll be enjoying it and having a great time.
No, right. In Children of Auron,
Yes.
Servalan was blessed with children, as it were.
Yes.
Do you see yourself as the sort of person, or Servalan or yourself as the sort of person who should go into that sort of thing, because you shouldn't really have time for them?
I think Servalan would probably like me. If I hadn't been an actress, I think I would have been a very good mother. But because what had shaped my life was the fact that I was abandoned by my own mother at the age of 16 months. And this had an enormous effect on my life. And it made me very aware of the importance of mothering and the important part a mother plays in a child's life. And I decided that if one was going to do it, one had to make a total commitment to it, and that if I was going to have children, I had to want children more than anything else in the world. And the woman side of me did. As a woman, I would have liked children more than anything else in the world. But I think it was Oscar Wilde who said, an actress is something more than a woman. An actor is something less than a man. And I think an actress is something more than a woman. And to be any good at it, I think it has to be a passion. And I realised that it is my passion. And I couldn't have a passion as a woman and a passion as an actress and fulfil them both. So I would have fallen between two stools. I didn't make a conscious decision not to become a mother. It just didn't happen. And I realise now that that was totally the right decision. And I have wonderful relationships with children. I have godchildren. I have wonderful relationships with children. Probably better than their own parents in many ways, because it allows us to get rid of all the grotty side of it and just have the best. But one of my godchildren, who was the son of Matthew Lacey, Ronald Lacey, who probably a lot of you remember, he's now dead, but he was wonderful. And what was that film, Ladies of the Lost Ark? He played the baddie. What was that character with the glasses? The German, I'm sure you know who I mean. Right. And his son Matt, who I've known since he was a baby, is absolutely wonderful. When Ron died last year, I went to stay with Matt for a bit. And one day he turned to me and he said, "Darling, you're the most amazing woman I've ever met." So I said, "Oh, sweetheart, how lovely, why is that?" He said, "Because you're the sort of woman every parent tries to keep their child away from." But, he said, secretly hopes they'll get involved with. Which I thought was a wonderful thing to have said to one by a very perceptive 18-year-old. So I don't feel I missed out on anything. I think I've had the best of everything, actually, at the end of the day.
Questions from the floor. We've got time for about 2 more questions. I've got one up here.
Can you tell me what sort of music you like?
And music is another one of my passions. I always come back to classical music, particularly Mozart. But I love, of any era of music, there are certain songs that become classics, like 10cc, what's that one by 10cc? You know? I'm Not in Love. I'm Not in Love, right. Things like that. I love a lot of music from the 70s. There's some very good music around then. Who am I into at the moment? Mick Hucknall, in a big way. I think it's so pretty. And I love his writing. I think he's very good. I love music, a great passion in my life. All sorts, really. I love Irish music as well. I don't like country and western, but other than that, practically everything. Sorry, darling, I know. Perhaps if I had some really good stuff, I'd change my mind. But
10 years ago, you were playing Shadowlands in grade 7. 10 years' time, where do you see your career? What role would you like to play?
We really touched on that one earlier. What role would I like to play? You see, every so often a part comes along, like Amanda in Private Lives and like Joy Gresham, when I read the script and I know it's got my name on it. I hadn't thought of either of them before I played them. So it's very exciting when that happens. So I'm just hoping that soon some more scripts will come along and I'll say, yes, that's got my name on it, and have a wonderful time. I'd like to go on fulfilling myself as an artist. I would like to develop as a human being to the fullest extent of my capacity. That's really what I'm interested in doing. The work I do along the way, the experiences that I have, will contribute to that. But it's not for me to say what they will be. I do love surprises, very Sagittarian.
That will conclude the interview.
But I'd just like to say that this is probably the loveliest panel I've ever had. I've really thoroughly enjoyed myself. I hope I haven't bored you to tears. But I've really had a wonderful time. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed being here. God bless you all.
Thank you very much.